Hi, I'm Amy, and you are either here because I just color matched you and you got this link to show you how to put on your basic 3D foundation, or two, you saw me on one of my social media pages and are interested in the makeup or just kind of want to see what it's about. So today I'm going to run you through the very basics of Saint 3D foundation and kind of explain what it is. So 3D foundation, instead of putting one color on our face for your basic foundation, we are going to use 3 different colors. So this right here is the basic pack that I recommend to everyone. This is our contour color. It's the darker color we're going to put in areas that we really want to sculpt, mold, or maybe kind of minimize. If you think about, you wear black to appear smaller, it's the same thing. We're going to put a darker color on the areas that we really kind of want to shrink down and we don't want to stand out so much. This is our brightening shade, our brightening highlight. Most makeup companies just refer to it as a highlight color. This is going to be the makeup color that we're going to put on the areas that we really want to pop and stand out. So like the T-zone, the center of our face. And then this one is just our main shade. So our main highlight is what we call it. And basically this is what you think of when you think of foundation. I'm putting mine on my face right here. You can see it's pretty dang similar to the color of my skin. So this is the main highlight. The last one, I always recommend a blush, which we call ours lip and cheeks because they double as blush, but you can also put them on your lips for lipstick. So lip and cheeks is why they refer to it as that. And this is the basic pack. So I usually recommend this brush starting out. This is our 3D brush. It's the first brush we ever made. It's the most versatile. So if you're going for one brush, this is gonna be the best bang for your buck. If you want 2 brushes, I would probably go another route because we have other brushes that are really good for specific things. So if you want one brush, this one, like I said, is the most versatile. So I always start with my contour, and our contour is a little bit more drier than our creams or our highlights. So our highlights are more of like a buttery consistency. So if you tap your brush in it pretty hard, you're gonna pick up way too much product. The contour is a lot more dry, so you can put a little bit of pressure on your brush when tapping it in, okay? I got a little bit of blush on my brush right there. So basically, to start, we're gonna put our contour in the areas that we really wanna minimize. And I think of this as 4 lines. So the first line is just gonna be our forehead up here, okay? So we're gonna do a swoop across our forehead. And I'm gonna place all of the makeup first and then we'll blend at the end just so you can see where everything goes. But I put, and I kind of overdo it on my forehead. You don't have to put this much on. I just have a very, very large forehead. So I like to kind of minimize it, as you would say. And then I'm going to do, so this is my first line. My second line is gonna be my cheekbone. So I'm gonna go in with my brush and I like to kind of squeeze mine and tap it in sideways for my cheekbone. And I'm just going to follow, so your cheekbone's here. I like to go kind of on top of my cheekbone. You don't wanna go too low because it kind of drags your face down. So I find my cheekbone and then I'm just gonna do a swipe like that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So I'm gonna find my cheekbone and I'm just gonna do a swipe, okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect, I promise you. I am no makeup artist. I'm a Saint makeup artist, but did not go to school for this. So then the 4th line, so 1, 2, 3, the 4th line is just gonna be starting from our earlobe all the way down to our other earlobe. And I just swoop it under like this. And anything that I have left, I just kind of pull down on my brush. So that's your contour. We're not gonna do nose contour today. That's kind of, once you get used to it, we can go into nose contouring, but for today, just the basics. So next I'm gonna do my brightening shade. And I'm just gonna tap in with my brush on this side, the pointy side, and I'm just gonna make a little tree in between my forehead. I'm gonna drag it down my nose. And then you can either do a swoosh here, so start right here and go up like that, or some people are big on not putting it in the middle, so you can either do a dot right here and then kind of pull it up here. This is what I recommend, especially if you're kind of aging and you're getting some wrinkles because it doesn't pull out your wrinkles so much. If you have younger, more youthful skin, you can get away with just doing a check mark and kind of bringing it all over. So 2 ways to do that. And then if you want, you can put a little bit on your Cupid's bow. But that is where we're gonna put our brightening shade. And then everywhere else that we don't have a color, all we're gonna do is fill in with our main shade. And I don't even mess with wiping off the color. I just use the same end of the brush and I just put my brightening shade, or excuse me, my main shade everywhere else that doesn't have color. So my chin, in between this side because I didn't do the swoosh on this side, and down my nose, and we're just kind of placing it right now. We'll blend it here in a second. And then I put a little bit up here. You can put it on your eyes. You can do brightening on your eyes or your main shade on your eyes. So either one is fine. It does not matter. Okay, and then I like to blend before I put my blush on just because our blushes are super pigmented. They last forever. Literally, I use mine probably over a year for sure. So anyway, I'm gonna take this end of my brush where my contour is, and I just kind of wipe it on my hand, make sure my hand's clean. If you have one of those fancy things that cleans your brushes off in between, you can kind of run it on that. But that's what I do before I start blending. And then I always blend the areas that are lighter first. So I just press in that brightening shade down my nose, between my eyes, up here. And I don't swipe, and the reason why I don't swipe is because we have the makeup where we want it. We're just trying to press it in. And the good thing about creams is the longer you wear it during the day, the more it becomes like almost like a part of your skin. It kind of just melts nicely into your skin. It's also very easy if you mess up to fix. You just wipe it off and do it again. So then I'm gonna go to the areas where I put that main shade. And I'm just pressing. Again, pressing. And then the last thing, and I always do contours last just because one, it's darker. So we don't wanna have it on our brush and then smear it into the lighter areas. But also, since it's a little bit harder, you kind of do have to swipe a little bit with the contour. So I swipe a little bit on this line between my contour and my highlight. And then you always want to press it up back into your hairline so you don't have like a stark line. And I just press it back into my hairline. And then I'll do my jaw next. Just really make sure that it's blended down your neck so we don't have floating head syndrome. And then the last thing I do is my cheekbones, but before we do our cheekbones, I actually like to put my blush on now. Totally up to you. You can blend your cheekbones and then do your blush. I like to do my blush, so I kind of blend them together with my cheekbones. So our blushes are also super, super pigmented. So be careful. Don't load your brush up, right? A couple taps is fine. And then I smile. I put it right on my cheekbone like that. And then I just kind of follow it up that contour shade. It's very bold, guys. I promise you it will dim down here in a second. So when you first put it on, even now putting it on, I've been wearing this makeup for 3 years, I still am like, oh my gosh, it's so pigmented. But you just gotta give it a second and it will tone down. Okay, so while that starts to tone, or starts to kind of, we're gonna let it sit there for a little bit. I am just gonna talk about a few other things. That is the basics, that is it. Oh, scratch that, I forgot. You can use your blush as your lipstick too. So I already had it on my lips because I was just messing around, but this one is Pink Grapefruit. It's very bold. If you're looking for a less bold pink, Hollywood is a really good one as well. Those are probably my 2 favorite that I recommend all the time for pinks. We have multiple colors for blush, but if you have a preference on like nudes, pinks, reds, or some fun colors that are not common, let me know and I can set you up with them and let you know my recommendation. But by all means, the color choice is yours. What's most important to get color matched to is your main shade, which is the color of your skin essentially. And then brightening, the brightener highlight kind of depends on how drastic you wanna go. So if you really want a big, heightened difference between your brightener and like more, I'm trying to think, what's the word I'm trying to think of? more like dimension, like a higher dimension, you would go higher. And that also depends on your skin type. So if you have maybe more mature skin, you're older, and your skin's a little bit more dry, I wouldn't recommend going super, super light because it's gonna draw that dryness out. If you have really youthful, young skin or even oily skin, you can get away with a little bit brighter of a highlight, a brightening highlight. So that is the main color that we need to color match for. And I will also color match you for your contour too. Contours, a lot of different contours can work on, or multiple contours can work on certain people. So that one's not quite as big of a deal, but I still will recommend your contour, your main highlight, and your brightening highlight. And then I kind of let you choose. I'll give you recommendations, but your blush and any other types of products that you would like. Some other typical products that people buy besides the basic are illuminators. So this is cream. We have cream and we have powder. Powders are a lot more bold. Let's just say that. They're very, very pigmented. These are creams, so they kind of like they work really well with the cream foundation. I prefer creams. I just feel like they're not as bold. And you can put these like on the heights of your cheekbone if you want, your cupid's bow, your nose. Some people like to put them underneath their eyebrows right there. It just adds a little bit of glisten. Some people like to put them on their collarbones as well. So that's an option. We also have a really, really good bronzer. It's a cream bronzer and it blends really well with the makeup. So I'll just kind of put it on here for you. I recommend the blush and bronzer brush if you are gonna get a bronzer, just because it's very pigmented, so it picks it up really light. And then you just kind of swirl and it just adds a little bit more warmth to the areas that the sun hits. So people like to put bronzers on their nose, on their forehead. You can put some on top of your blush. It's gonna change the blush color a little bit. It's gonna add a little bit more warmth to it, a little brown, I guess you could say. And the other side is really good for blending. So this is my favorite brush to blend with. So if you did want to do a bronzer, I highly recommend this brush on top of it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, we also have eyeshadows. We have eyeliner, a bunch of different products. You can go on the site. And if you're interested in anything specifically, let me know. I do kind of just recommend my favorites of everything, and then you can kind of choose what you do and don't want to buy. However, I always recommend this at the minimum. So your 3D foundation with a blush and this brush at a minimum. One other thing, if you have really deep pigment, like under your eyes, say you have melasma, maybe rosacea, I might also add a color corrector to you. So for instance, I don't know if you can see my eyes, some days they're good, sometimes they're bad. I can kind of get away with doing brightener right here. There are some days I wake up and my eyes underneath right here are so blue, like I need a color corrector. And so I do a little darker shade for my color corrector before I go on and do my brightener or my main shade, just in those problematic areas. So if I have a zit, I go on with my color corrector shade, put it on first, and then I go ahead and do everything else. So that might be something that I will recommend for you if you are having specific areas of concern. Most of the time, if it's just minimal breakouts and it's not super deep pigment, your main shade is gonna take care of those like those acne or problematic areas. But if you do have that, deep like rosacea, or really like say you picked at one of your pimples, that's me to a T, and they get really dark, I need a color corrector to fix that, because my main shade isn't going to color correct something very, very, very darker than my main shade. So those are the basics. If you have any other questions, let me know. I do have a color match form linked to my link tree on my Instagram and my TikTok as well. And if, like I said, if you have anything else that you have questions on, please reach out. Thanks. Bye.